Buddhist Outlook on Daily Life. Nina van Gorkom. 14. The Eightfold Path. Questioner: I understand that awareness or mindfulness is useful, but I still do not know how to be mindful in daily life. I feel I have no time for it, I have to do my work. Nina: the development of insight, vipassana, is precisely the development of right understanding of ourselves, of our daily life. However, it seems that people want to know many other things but not themselves. Are we afraid of knowing ourselves? The Buddha pointed out that knowing ourselves is more beneficial than knowing other things. We read in the Visuddhimagga, 12:82, that the Buddha so acted that King Mokkapanya and his retinue were invisible to the queen who had followed him with 1,000 women attendants and who was sitting nearby. We read: and when it was asked, "Have you seen the king, Venerable Sir?" he asked, "But which is better for you, to seek the king or to seek yourself?" She replied, "Myself, Venerable Sir." Then he likewise taught her the Dhamma as she sat there, so that, together with the 1,000 women attendants, she became established in the fruition of stream entry, Satpana. While the ministers reached the fruition of non-return, Aim, and the king that of Arahatship. The development of insight should not be separated from daily life. It is precisely in our daily life that insight, right understanding of realities, should be developed. There should be awareness of dhammas and rupas which appear in our daily life. Thus we develop the Eightfold Path. If people say that they have no time to develop insight, they have not understood what the Eightfold Path is. Question: what exactly is the Eightfold Path? Is it the same as mindfulness? Is it essential for the attainment of enlightenment? Will it make us happier and does it help us to fulfill our duties better? Nina: when we speak about a reality we should know what type of reality it is, otherwise we cannot have a clear understanding of it. Which ultimate reality, Paramatha Dhamma, 45, is the Eightfold Path? There are 4 Paramatha Dhammas. Citta, consciousness. Cetasika, mental factor arising with the citta. Rupa, physical phenomena. Nibbana. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 factors and these are Cetasikas. They are Sophana Cetasikas, beautiful mental factors, arising with the Sophana citta which is mindful of a characteristic of dhamma or rupa. In being mindful of dhamma and rupa the Eightfold Path is developed. At the attainment of enlightenment the 8 factors arise with the Lokuttara citta, supramundane citta, which experiences nibbana. Then the path is Lokuttara. When the factors of the Eightfold Path do not arise with the Lokuttara citta the path is Lokiya, mundane. You asked me whether the Eightfold Path is the same as mindfulness. Mindfulness, sati, is one of the factors of the Eightfold Path. It is called samsati, 46, or right mindfulness. As we have seen, sati arises with sophana citta. Sati is samsati of the Eightfold Path when it arises with the pa, wisdom, which understands a characteristic of dhamma or rupa appearing through one of the 6 doors. Any time there is mindfulness of a characteristic of dhamma or rupa which appears, the Eightfold Path is being developed. Question: thus, the object of the Eightfold Path has to be any characteristic of dhamma or rupa which appears through one of the 6 doors, is that right? Nina: that is right. A person or a tree are concepts or ideas we can think of, but they are not ultimate realities which appear one at a time through the 6 doors. Only ultimate realities are the object of the Eightfold Path. Seeing is a reality with its own unchangeable characteristic which can be directly known, without the need to think about it. Seeing is an which experiences visible object, that which appears through eyes. There is no person who sees. Hearing is another reality with its own unchangeable characteristic, it can be directly known when it appears. Hearing is an which experiences sound through earsense, there is no person who hears. If we learn to see dhamma and rupa as they are, the wrong view of self will be eradicated. Question: I have learned that the objects of the Eightfold Path are those of the 4 applications of mindfulness or satipana which are the application of mindfulness of the body, of feelings, of cittas, and of dhammas. Is sound included in the objects of mindfulness? Nina: is sound real? Question: It is real. Nina, why is it real? Question, anybody can experience sound through the ears. Nina, since sound is a reality which can be experienced, can there not be awareness of it? Question, yes, there can be awareness of it. Nina, sound is an object of mindfulness or satipana because it is a reality with its own characteristic which can be experienced. If there is mindfulness of the characteristic of sound more often, we will learn that it is only a kind of rupa which can be experienced through the ear door and which is different from the nma which experiences sound. Question, what about unhappy feeling, is it also object of mindfulness? Nina, is it real? Question, certainly. Nina, thus it is object of mindfulness or satipana. All realities which can be experienced through the 6 doors can be objects of mindfulness or satipana. As regards your question whether the Eightfold Path is essential for the attainment of enlightenment, it is essential, there is no other way. When one attains the first stage of enlightenment, the stage of the Satpana, the wrong view of self is eradicated completely. The clinging to the concept of self can be eradicated only if we develop the wisdom which clearly knows that all phenomena in us and around us are only nma and rupa and nothing else but nma and rupa. Thus realities will be known as they are. You also asked me whether the Eightfold Path will make us happier, whether it helps us to fulfill our duties better. Our own defilements make us unhappy and at times we find life very difficult. In developing the Eightfold Path we do not immediately eradicate defilements but we acquire a clearer understanding of our life. When there is less clinging to the notion of self, there is less darkness in our life. Right understanding is to the benefit of both ourselves and others. When we have more understanding of our own life we will also have more understanding of others. Through the development of Satipana there can gradually be more conditions for Kusala Siddhas with kindness and compassion. When we do our daily tasks with Kusala Siddhas, do you not think that they are performed better? Question, you explained that the 8 factors of the path are 8 Sobhanakatasikas, beautiful mental factors. Do all 8 factors have to arise with the Siddha which is mindful? Nina, not all 8 factors arise together when the Siddha is not Lokuttara Siddha, supramundane Siddha experiencing Nibbana. When Lokuttara Siddha arises at the attainment of enlightenment all 8 factors accompany the Siddha. Question, what is the first factor of the Eightfold Path? Nina, the first factor is Samdaihi, right view or right understanding. Samdaihi is the kind of pa which directly understands a characteristic of nma or rupa, appearing through one of the 6 doors. Without right understanding of nma and rupa and of the way to develop the Eightfold Path, enlightenment cannot be attained. We read in the Kindred Sayings, v. Book 12, Kindred Sayings about the Truths, ch. 4, par 7, the parable of the sun, that right view is the forerunner of full comprehension of the 4 noble truths. The 4 noble truths are realized at the attainment of enlightenment. We read that the Buddha said, monks, just as the dawn is the forerunner, the harbinger, of the arising of the sun, even so is right view the forerunner, the harbinger, of fully comprehending the 4 Aryan truths. Of a monk who has right view it may be expected that he will understand as it really is, this is dukkha, this is the arising of dukkha, this is the ceasing of dukkha, this is the way leading to the ceasing of dukkha. Wherefore, monks, an effort must be made to realize, this is dukkha, this is the arising of dukkha, this is the ceasing of dukkha, this is the way leading to the ceasing of dukkha. We should know to what end we wish to develop the Eightfold Path. Why do you want to develop it? Question, I want to develop it in order to eradicate defilements such as anger, jealousy, stinginess, and all other kinds of impurities. In other words, everything which is degrading and immoral. Nina, people think that Vipassana can solve all their problems at once and they believe that defilements can be eradicated immediately. But for how many lives have we accumulated defilements? Since these lives are countless, how could we eradicate defilements immediately? So long as we are not yet Aryans, the aim of our development of Vipassana is to know the truth about ourselves, in order to eradicate the wrong view of self. We have to be so very patient. We should not forget the sutta about the knife handle, Kindred Sayings 3, middle 50, chv. Par 101, Ad's Handle, where we read that the Buddha said, "Just as if, monks, when a carpenter or carpenter's apprentice looks upon his adze handle and sees thereon his thumb mark and his finger marks, he does not thereby know. So and so much of my adze handle has been worn away today, so much yesterday, so much at other times. But he knows the wearing away of it just by its wearing away. Even so, some of the wrong view is eliminated each time there is mindfulness of ma or rupa, but we cannot see how much is eliminated each day." Question: But when there is strong attachment or when we are very angry, how can there be awareness at the same time? Nina: when there is a labhamlasita, citta rooted in attachment, or a dosamlasita, citta rooted in ill will, there cannot be a citta with mindfulness at the same time, since there can only be one citta at a time. But shortly after the akusala citta has fallen away, there can be kusala citta with mindfulness. The characteristic of akusala can then be the object of mindfulness, and it can be known as nma, not self. Question: can we not be so disturbed by labha or dosa, especially when they are intense, that awareness is impossible? Nina: are strong desire and intense anger realities? Question: yes, they appear, they are realities. Nina: then they can be known as they are. If one makes oneself believe that it is impossible to be aware of particular realities, one has not understood what the Eightfold Path is, the development of right understanding of whatever reality appears. Some people are so afraid of akusala citta that they try to flee from the reality which appears at that moment. They think that they should apply themselves to a particular practice, such as concentrating on their breathing, in order to regulate awareness. When they act in this way without awareness of the reality which appears at the present moment, they are not developing the Eightfold Path. When one develops the Eightfold Path, which is called the middle way, there should be awareness of any kind of reality which appears, even if it is akusala. We may be inclined to think that there should not be mindfulness of akusala cittas, especially of those types we find particularly ugly, such as cittas with strong desire or anger. Why should we be worried by the reality which appears, even if it is akusala citta? We cannot change the reality which has already appeared, but we can know its characteristic. It is useless to go on worrying about strong desire or anger. At such moments there are nma and rupa. Why would it not be possible to know these realities as they are, only conditioned phenomena which are not self? Through vipassana we come to know more our akusala cittas, not only the coarse ones but also the more subtle ones. Not only strong desire is labha, but also enjoyment of beautiful things is labha. We cannot force ourselves not to enjoy beautiful things since we have accumulated attachment, but we should know that at such moments the cittas are not kusala cittas but akusala cittas. The middle way is not forcing oneself to particular practices in order to suppress attachment, but it is knowing whatever reality appears. We should also know mohamlasittas, cittas rooted in ignorance, as they are. Most of the time we do not realize when there are mohamlasittas because mohamlasitta is not accompanied by pleasant feeling or by unpleasant feeling, but by indifferent feeling. We may not realize that when the feeling is indifferent there can be akusala citta. When there are no kusala cittas, there are not only many moments of labhamlasita and dosamlasita, but also of mohamlasita. We are often ignorant of the nmas and rupas which appear, there are countless moments of forgetfulness and ignorance. Moha is dangerous. The moha of today conditions moha in the future. How many more lives will we be ignorant of realities? Through the development of vipassana we will realize that we are still ignorant of many realities. Question: I thought that the Buddha said that one should be aware every time one is breathing in and breathing out. Should we not concentrate on breathing? Nina: so long as we are breathing there is still life. All through life mindfulness should be developed. In vipassana one does not select any particular object of mindfulness. There can be mindfulness of whatever kind of nma or rupa appears through one of the 6 doors. In this way wrong view and doubt about the realities one takes for self can be eradicated. In vipassana one does not have to follow any rule. One does not have to concentrate on breathing. If one selects the object of awareness and in this way tries to control sati, there will not be detachment from the wrong view of self. When we speak of breathing, we are using a conventional term of everyday language. What are the realities which can be directly experienced when breathing? There can be awareness of phenomena such as softness, hardness, heat, cold, motion or pressure when they present themselves through the door of the body sense, and they can be known as different kinds of rupa. Nmas and rupas appear, but there is no self who can decide of which reality there should be awareness. Question: reflecting on what you said about awareness of Nma and rupa, I can accept and understand that there is no self, but I cannot experience it as the truth. And sometimes I still feel that there must be a self who directs the mind and makes decisions. Suppose that I decide today to study the teachings and to observe the 5 precepts, I find it difficult to believe that there is not an ego or self who makes this choice, this decision. Nina, so long as we are not Aryans, the wrong view of self has not been eradicated, there are yet conditions for clinging to the concept of self. Awareness of Nmas and Rupas will gradually lead to a clearer understanding of what things really are. Then we shall realize that decision-making is a type of Nma arising because of conditions. When wisdom has been developed to the degree that enlightenment can be attained, there will be no more doubt about realities and there will be the clear comprehension that there is no self. In order to develop the right path, there must be from the beginning right understanding about the way of development. If there is some misunderstanding in the beginning, one may go the wrong way for a long time. It may be very hard to find the right way again. If one continues having wrong understanding, for how many more lives will there be wrong view? Question: is the development of the right path just watching or observing all the phenomena of one's life? Nina, who is watching? There may be an idea of self who is watching and one may not notice this. The development of right understanding is not watching or observing. When visible object appears, it can be known as only a reality which is experienced through the eyes, not somebody, not something. When seeing appears, it can be known as only the experience of visible object, no self who sees. When one pays attention to the shape and form of something, there is another type of Nma, different from seeing, and its characteristic can be known too. All realities which appear through the 6 doors can be object of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not self, it arises because it is conditioned by listening to the Dhamma, by the study of the Dhamma and by right consideration of it. From the beginning there should not be an idea of self who is watching phenomena or who can select the object of mindfulness. A very precise knowledge of all the different phenomena which appear should be developed in order to see them as they are, as in it, beyond control. This is the development of the Eightfold Path. 15 Factors of the Eightfold Path. Questioner: it is important to cultivate wholesomeness, not only in our actions and speech but in our thinking as well. It is, however, impossible to think wholesome thoughts all the time because we have accumulated many defilements. When we think of the virtues of the Buddha, there are at those moments wholesome thoughts, but we cannot continually think of wholesome things. We cannot help it that unwholesome thoughts arise many times during the day. How can we stop unwholesome thinking? Nina, when we recollect the Buddha's virtues and when we are grateful for the Dhamma he taught out of compassion for the world, it is a condition for wholesome thinking. We could visit the 4 holy places, the place of the Buddha's birth, of his enlightenment, of his first sermon and of his final passing away. In visiting those holy places we give expression to our deep confidence in his teachings and our gratefulness for the Dhamma, which even after 2,500 years can still help us now, at this very moment. The holy places remind us not to be neglectful of mindfulness, they are conditions for many Kusala siddhas. When there are Kusala siddhas, there are at those moments no conditions for unwholesome thinking, but it is not eradicated. Only by the cultivation of the Eightfold Path, which is the development of insight, will unwholesome thinking eventually be eradicated. In the development of vipassana there can also be mindfulness of thinking which is unwholesome. We may not like to be mindful of unwholesome thinking, but it is a reality, it arises, and thus its characteristic can be investigated. The 4 applications of mindfulness or satipana include all realities. If we understand that there isn't anything which cannot be object of mindfulness, we will gradually realize that all phenomena are only Nma and Rupa. Thus, when unwholesome thinking appears, why can it not be known as only a type of Nma? When Pa knows the characteristic of this reality more clearly, there will be less inclination to take it for self. So long as we are not yet arahas, unwholesomeness is bound to arise. It can only be completely eradicated when one has attained arahatship. Question: I learned that right thinking or samsakapa is one of the factors of the Eightfold Path. Is samsakapa thinking of ma and rupa? Nina: samsakapa is the cetasika, mental factor, which is vitaka or thinking. Vitaka is usually translated into English as applied thought. The characteristic of vitaka is different from what we mean by the word thinking as we use it in conventional language. Vitaka performs a specific function when it accompanies the citta. The Visuddhimagga, 4:88, states about vitaka. It has the characteristic of directing the mind onto an object, mounting the mind on its object. Its function is to strike and thresh. It is manifested as the leading of the mind onto an object. Vitaka accompanies many cittas but not every citta. It arises together with the citta and falls away with the citta. When vitaka accompanies akusala citta it is also akusala, and when it accompanies kusala citta it is also kusala. When vitaka accompanies the citta with right understanding, samdaihi, and right mindfulness, samsati, of the Eightfold Path it is called samsakapa, right thinking, of the Eightfold Path. When there is right mindfulness of anma or rupa which appears through one of the 6 doors. Samsakapa hits or touches the anma or rupa which is the object of mindfulness so that samdaihi can investigate that object in order to know it as it is. When right understanding has not been developed yet, we may doubt whether the reality which appears is anma or rupa. When there is seeing which is anma there is also visible object which is rupa, but only one reality at a time can be object of mindfulness. It is the function of samsakapa to touch the reality appearing at the present moment so that right understanding can investigate its characteristic. Right understanding needs right thinking in order to investigate the characteristics of anma and rupa and to see realities as they are. Thus, samsakapa is indispensable for the development of right understanding. If we understand the function of samsakapa, it is clear that samsakapa is not thinking about anma or rupa. Question: can samsakapa destroy wrong thinking? Nina: samsakapa arises together with the citta which is accompanied by right mindfulness and right understanding. It directs the citta in the right way towards the object of mindfulness and at that moment there cannot be wrong thinking. After the moment of mindfulness, however, wrong thinking or thinking which is akusala can arise again, but if one continues developing the Eightfold Path it will eventually be destroyed. Question: I heard someone say that in order to develop mindfulness one should stop thinking. Is this a right method? Nina: how could we prevent ourselves from thinking? Throughout our life objects are presenting themselves through the senses and through the mind door. Cittas which think of these objects are real. Why can there not be mindfulness of thinking? Otherwise we will not see that it is an it, not self. The moment we try to control thinking it has fallen away, it already belongs to the past. When there is awareness of a characteristic of anma or rupa, there is at that moment no clinging to a concept of self who tries to stop thinking or to control sati in other ways. Awareness of whatever reality appears, that is the development of the Eightfold Path. Question: we have spoken already about samdaihi, samsakapa, and samsati, but there are 8 factors of the Eightfold Path. Could you tell me which are the factors of the Eightfold Path? Nina: the 8 factors are: right understanding, samdaihi; right thinking, samsakapa; right speech, samva with macron ca with macron; right bodily action, samkamanta; right livelihood, samjava; right effort, samvima; right mindfulness, samsati; right concentration, samsamdi. Question: what are the functions of right speech, right bodily action and right livelihood? Nina: they are 3 sopanakatasikas, beautiful mental factors, which abstain from wrong speech, wrong bodily action and wrong livelihood. They are the factors which are sla or morality. Right speech is abstaining from wrong speech, which is lying, slandering, rude speech and idle talk. Right action is abstaining from wrong bodily action, which is killing, stealing and sexual misbehavior. Right livelihood is abstaining from wrong livelihood, which is wrong bodily action and wrong speech committed for the sake of earning a living. Question: how can I abstain from wrong speech? I find that when I am with other people who speak in an unwholesome way, I am inclined to do the same. Nina: so long as we are not yet arahats, we will still speak in an unwholesome way. But the Buddha's teachings can be the condition for us to have less akusala in our life. When people speak in an unpleasant way about others, or when they complain about disagreeable things which happen in life, we may be inclined to follow their example. But through the study of the teachings and the development of satipana, we will realize more often when there are akusala siddhas. Gradually we can learn to abstain from wrong speech. We may have compassion for those who speak in the wrong way. We may try to help them to have kusala siddhas instead of akusala siddhas. Question: we may know this in theory, but I find the practice of the teachings very difficult. I have spoken the wrong words already before I realize it. Nina: through the development of right understanding, habits and accumulations can gradually be changed. But there is no self who could change habits and accumulations. The right understanding of the Dhamma and the application of the Dhamma in one's life are conditions for change. Then we can prove to ourselves that the Buddha's teachings are the truth, and our confidence in the teachings will be deeper. Question: can you give an example of right action? Nina: when we are inclined to kill an insect which is stinging us, but then, instead of having aversion, we abstain from killing, we are observing sly. It is not self who abstains, but the cetasika, which is right action, performs its function. Question: I know of someone who says that he cannot help killing. When an insect bites him, it is his reflex to kill it. Is the development of right understanding a condition for abstaining from wrong action? Nina: right understanding of Dhamma and Rupa conditions us to realize more often the danger of akusala and the benefit of kusala. At the moment of mindfulness of a reality which appears through one of the 6 doors, there is kusala siddha. Kusala siddha cannot be accompanied by dosa, it is accompanied by adosa. Adosa is non-aversion or loving kindness. Right understanding can gradually be the condition that kindness and compassion arise more often. We will be more inclined to think of the happiness of other beings. Should we cause insects to have pain? Should we destroy their lives? Question: when one develops right understanding of the Eightfold Path, do the Sobhana Cetasikas of right action, right speech, and right livelihood destroy wrong action, wrong speech and wrong livelihood? Nina: the development of right understanding is a condition for more wholesomeness in our life, but akusala cannot be eradicated immediately. There are at times conditions for abstaining from unwholesome actions and unwholesome speech, but, when enlightenment has not been attained, sla is not enduring. When we are in difficult situations, we may kill and we may lie. The Satpana, the person who has attained the first stage of enlightenment, has no more conditions for committing akusala kama which can cause an unhappy rebirth. He has no more conditions to transgress the 5 precepts. However, he has not eradicated all kinds of unwholesomeness. He has eradicated wrong bodily action, and as regards wrong speech, he has eradicated lying, but he has not eradicated the other kinds of wrong speech. He has eradicated wrong livelihood. He cannot commit wrong action or wrong speech for the sake of earning a living. Thus we see that the development of right understanding will bear directly on our action and speech in daily life. When the siddha is not lokuttara siddha, supramundane siddha which experiences nibbana, the 3 factors of right speech, right action, and right livelihood arise one at a time, depending on the given situation. When we abstain from wrong action, we do not abstain at the same time from wrong speech. At the attainment of enlightenment, however, all 3 factors arise together while they accompany the lokuttara siddha which experiences nibbana. They perform at that moment their functions as path factors, which is the eradication of the causes of misconduct as to speech, action, and livelihood. Latent tendencies to defilements are eradicated so that they do not arise anymore. Defilements are progressively eradicated at the different stages of enlightenment, and it is only at the final stage, the stage of the araha, that all kinds of akusala are completely eradicated. Question: can there be awareness of Dhamma and Rupa while we abstain from unwholesomeness? Nina, there can be the development of right understanding in any situation, no matter whether we have akusala siddhas or whether we abstain from akusala. We gradually learn that there is no self who has kusala siddha or akusala siddha, but that these types of siddha arise because of their own conditions. Through the development of right understanding, sla will become purer because one will realize that it is not self who observes sla. Question: so long as one has not become a satpana, the observing of the 5 precepts which include abstaining from wrong bodily action and from lying cannot be enduring. There will be situations that one will transgress them. As regards wrong livelihood, for some people it is very difficult to abstain from it. I heard of someone who has no choice but to kill chickens in order to earn a living for his family. Every day he has to kill, but he says that he performs dina, generosity, in order to compensate for his killing. Can he compensate in that way? Nina, we cannot compensate for bad actions by good actions, because every deed brings about its appropriate result. The killing, which is akusala kamma, may cause an unhappy rebirth, even if we perform good deeds as well. Question: but this person cannot earn a living in any other way. He used to have another kind of business, but he could not earn enough money to take care of his family. Some people have no choice, they have to do wrong actions for their livelihood. Nina, nothing in life happens without conditions. One's accumulated defilements cause one to have a profession by which one is involved in killing animals or trading in arms or alcoholic drinks. These professions are wrong livelihood, they are conditions for akusala kamma. It is sati which could, one day, make a person change his profession, which is wrong livelihood. People may think that it is impossible to change their profession, but if there is the development of right understanding of realities, there will be conditions for earning one's living without having to perform akusala kamma. As we have seen, the satpana has completely eradicated the tendency to wrong livelihood. Question: what about people who are not trading in the things you just mentioned, but who are what we call in business? I would think that if one is to make a profit, one cannot always be telling the truth. Should businessmen change their profession in order to be pure in their livelihood? I know someone who was formerly in business but changed his profession. He now works for a newspaper because he sees this profession as an opportunity to serve other people better. Nina, we cannot say that someone should or should not do particular things, because whatever we do in life is dependent on conditions. There is no self who makes a choice, there are siddhas arising because of their own conditions. People who are in business may perform akusala kamma, as for instance, when they are dishonest and harm other people in the way they make their profit. But they can have kusala siddhas too. They may abstain from telling lies even though they know that this will cause them to have less profit. Thus, at different moments there are different conditions for akusala siddhas and for kusala siddhas which arise. Question: what about a professional soldier? Can he ever have right livelihood? Nina, he can have akusala siddhas and kusala siddhas at different moments. When he kills others he performs akusala kamma, but he may also perform wholesome deeds. In the Sutta of the highest blessings, Mamagala Sutta, Suttanipta, Kuddakanikya, we read among others about the following blessing: supporting mother and father, cherishing wife and children, and peaceful occupations. This is the highest blessing. Soldiers, however, can and should cultivate kusala kamma too. We read in the Gradual Sayings, Book of the Eights, ch. 2, par 2, Shi, the general, that Shi the general visited the Buddha and gained confidence in him. We read: then the Exalted One preached a graduated discourse to Shi, the general, that is to say, on almsgiving, the precepts, and on heaven. He set forth the peril, the folly, and the depravity of lusts and the blessedness of renunciation. And when the Exalted One knew that the heart of Shi, the general, was clear, malleable, free from hindrance, uplifted and lucid, then he revealed that teaching of Dhamma which Buddhas alone have won, that is to say, dukkha, its coming to be, its ending and the way. Just as a clean cloth, free of all stain, will take dye perfectly. Even so in Shi, the general, seated there, there arose the spotless, stainless vision of Dhamma, that whatsoever be conditioned by coming to be all that is subject to ending. The commentary to this sutta, the Manoratha Pray, explains that Cha became a Satpana. Question: I think that those whose profession is government service have more conditions for pure livelihood. They do not have to think about making a profit for themselves. Nina: they may have many akusala siddhas, they may have conceit, or they may think of their own success. It all depends on the individual. When we have chosen a profession, it shows that we have accumulations for that profession. That profession is part of our daily life. During our work we can develop mindfulness and right understanding of Dhamma and Rupa. When we have more understanding of the Dhamma we can help other people to understand it as well, and thus we serve society in the best way, we contribute to peace in the world. Question: but can someone who has to think of money all day be aware of Dhamma and Rupa? Nina: do you handle money during the day? Question: yes, it is part of our normal way of life. Nina: should you not be aware of realities when looking at money? Do you think that there is anything which is not included in Satipana? Question: when I look at money, visible object appears through the eyes. When I touch it, hardness or softness may appear through the body sense. But if I were aware only of those realities and did not know the value of the banknote, I would be poor very soon. Even though I believe that awareness is very useful, yet I consider it to be a different section of life. I lead two kinds of lives: my life of awareness, which I lead mostly at home, when I am alone, and my business life, in which I have to be practical. Nina: do you think that the Buddha said that there are times one should not be mindful? He exhorted people to be aware, no matter what they were doing. Question: but awareness is not always practical. For instance, when I am opening the safe in my office, I have to remember the numbers of the combination lock. If I were aware only of hardness, motion, or visible object, I could not open the safe. I thought that only absolute realities, Dhammas and Rupas, which appear one at a time through the 6 doors, are objects of mindfulness. I thought that there cannot be mindfulness while one is thinking of concepts. Nina: why can there not be awareness when you know the value of a banknote or when you remember the numbers of the combination lock on the safe? At such moments there is thinking of concepts, but is thinking not a reality? Are there moments that there are not Dhamma and Rupa? I agree that you have to be practical, but does that mean that there cannot be awareness at the same time? The Buddha's teachings are very practical. The Buddha gave many practical guidelines for lay people so that they could lead a life of goodwill and benevolence in their social relations. He advised them on the means for both their material welfare and their spiritual welfare. We read in the Gradual Sayings, Book of the Eights, ch. 6, par 4, Long Ni, the Kaliyan, that, while the Buddha was staying among the Koliyans, at Kakarapada, Long Ni, also named Tigerfoot, visited the Buddha. He asked the Buddha whether he would teach Dhamma to people like him, who are householders indulging in sense pleasures. He would like the Buddha to teach him what would lead to happiness here on earth and to happiness in the world to come. The Buddha said that 4 conditions would lead to advantage and happiness here on earth, namely, alertness, achievement in watchfulness, good company, and the even life. As to alertness, he should be deft and tireless in his work, he should have an inquiring turn of mind into ways and means, and be able to carry out his job. As to accomplishment of watchfulness, 47, we read: what is the accomplishment of watchfulness? Herein, Tigerfoot, Vyagapaja, whatsoever wealth a householder is in possession of, obtained by dint of effort, collected by strength of arm, by the sweat of his brow, justly acquired by right means, such he looks after well by guarding and watching, so that kings would not seize it, thieves would not steal it, fire would not burn it, water would not carry it away, nor ill-disposed heirs would remove it. This is the accomplishment of watchfulness. As to good company, the Buddha said that he should consort with those who are full of faith, virtue, charity, and wisdom, and try to be likewise. As to the even life, we read: herein a clansman, while experiencing both gain and loss in wealth, continues his business serenely, not unduly elated or depressed. He thinks, thus my income, after deducting loss, will stand at so much, and my outgoings will not exceed my income. We read that there are 4 channels for the flowing away of amassed wealth: looseness with women, debauchery in drinking, knavery in dice play, and friendship, companionship, and intimacy with evildoers. The Buddha explained that there are 4 conditions for happiness in the world to come: a. Achievement in faith, namely, confidence in the Buddha; achievement in virtue, that is, abstaining from ill deeds; achievement in generosity; and achievement in wisdom. The Buddha would not teach anything which is not practical and beneficial. There should be awareness not only of realities which appear through the 5 sense doors, but also of realities which appear through the mind door. When we are thinking of concepts, there can be awareness of thinking. Can you help knowing the value of a banknote? Is knowing this a reality? Question: Yes, it is a reality. Nina: anything which is real can be object of mindfulness. Some people think that there should be awareness only of some particular kinds of ma and rupa, such as seeing an invisible object. They think that knowing what something is, as for instance, knowing the value of a banknote or knowing whether the traffic light is green or red, is not included in satipana. Don't you think that unnatural? I have heard of someone who, while he is developing insight, believes that he cannot recognize his friends or his parents. If one cannot recognize anything while one is mindful, it means that one could not be aware during one's daily activities. It means that if one were to drive a car and be mindful at the same time, one would not know when the traffic light is green and when it is red. That is not the right path. Recognizing something is a reality as well. It is a type of ma which recognizes something. It is not self who recognizes. The development of the Eightfold Path is the development of right understanding of all realities of our daily life. Question: I still do not see how one can lead one's daily life while one develops vipassana. I have heard that it is forbidden to take alcoholic drinks while one develops vipassana. Nina: no one can force another person to abstain from drinking, nor can one force oneself, since it is not self who indulges in drinking or abstains from it, but nma, arising because of conditions. It is not self but sati which keeps someone from drinking. When sati has been accumulated more, it is a condition for gradually becoming less attached to drinking. However, only the Aryan can observe the 5 precepts perfectly. Since at the attainment of enlightenment all tendencies to wrong bodily action and to the wrong speech which is lying were eradicated, it has become his nature to observe the 5 precepts. People who are not Aryans may transgress them. For example, when there are conditions, it could happen that we kill in order to protect our lives. However, if one learns to develop satipana, it will gradually lead to changing one's way of life and to refraining from akusala kamma. Question: thus, mindfulness can bring about what I would consider a miracle, a transformation in character, is that right? Nina: people would like to change their characters but they do not know how to do it. Would you like to see a change in your character for the better? Is there a way? Everything occurs because of conditions. The condition for a change in one's life is vipassana, the right understanding of realities. However, a sudden transformation of character cannot be expected. People can see for themselves that while they develop the Eightfold Path, they come to know more and more their defilements, also the subtle ones. When there is less ignorance of the realities of one's life, it means that there is already a gradual change in one's character, even though enlightenment has not been attained.